I'm sure there is.
It's possible that this meeting could be relatively, well, it's late already, and I'm looking at the clock. What time it is over there?
Hey, Derek, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
This is my only
Okay.
chance, so I'm gonna drag it out.
Oh, yeah, we were just talking the other day, so you see how vice chair can be, of value. So you're of value tonight.
All right,
Tonight.
well, let's open a minute early. Thank you. Call to order. This is a hybrid Board of Supervisors meeting. Let me read the public thing. The Zoom public is asked to remain muted during the meeting when the board is talking. If you do not wish to be seen on the boardroom TVs or on the YouTube recording, your camera must be turned off via Zoom. In-person public participants will be given the first opportunity to comment and ask questions on each agenda item that requires a board vote. The Zoom public participants will be given the second opportunity to comment and ask questions on each agenda item which requires a board vote. And finally, Zoom participants wishing to comment must raise their hand icon, state their name, and speak one at a time. All right, pledge of allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag, to the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would like to make let's have a moment of silence for our first responders and our police and all those who are in harm's way. Thank you.
And a good word for our chair in absence today, Michelle Truitt, who is under the weather, and we hope she feels better.
She is on Zoom.
Well, more to the
Oh, are you
point-
there, Michelle?
I am here.
Okay, well, we were just wishing you well, and I want to make sure you knew we said good things about you.
All right, the meeting
Thank
is being
you.
recorded via Zoom. A recording will be updated later to the township's YouTube channel for viewing. The chairman's report, the first note is Michelle has a sore back and is on Zoom. Secondly, we're looking for volunteers for the Municipal Authority, Pipeline Task Force, Conservancy Board, and Futurist Committee. Please reach out to Derek Davis if you're interested, or fill out an ABC volunteer form on the website. Public hearings, we don't have any public hearings, do we?
We do not.
Okay, that makes it easy. Emergency services, we'll have that on the 20th. We don't have any emergency services report tonight. And no financial report. We're moving very quickly.
Motion, Cody,
I'll take a motion.
Cody, motion?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to pass the November 1st and November 15th minutes.
I thought that's the
I was
Do
motion.
gonna
we
say,
have
you
a
gotta-
second?
At least pay the bills.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Michael.
Chairman, I'd like to make one change.
Absolutely. Which one?
On Tuesday, November 1st, page 3, line 25, it says Cody is not in favor of using police trucks or decreasing expenses. I would like to change that from expenses to services. I am in favor of decreasing expenses where it's needed, but I think at that point, I was talking about the services in regard the sentence before, so.
Sure, services.
Okay, that's
Decrease.
line 25, right?
Page 3,
Okay, have you got that, Chris? Thank
Last
you.
word, right, okay.
because I am for decreasing expenses where we can.
All right, anybody, any of the other supervisors have a comment on the minutes?
No, thank you.
Comment
No.
in the room, comment on Zoom. I don't see a hand. How many people are on Zoom there?
We have
Two.
2 residents and then Michelle, so 3
Okay.
total.
And they know to hit the hand icon if they want to say something or ask a question.
Yep, they should. They do now.
All right, we'll call the question.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes. You're up.
Were you able to hear me?
Yes.
We are, yep.
Yes.
It's David.
Oh, good. Okay, great.
Okay, treasurer's report.
Yes, sir. The treasurer's report for weeks November 10th, 2022 through November 30th, 2022. General fund revenue over this period was driven by EIT, LST, and real estate tax receipts, insurance claims, permits, fees and fines, district court rent, parks and rec fees, escrow engineering recharges, and the Q3 Verizon franchise fee. Our general fund expenses over this period were debt service, legal fees, engineering charges, biannual window cleaning, district court expenses, East Goshen's share of the WeGo debt payments, vehicle maintenance and repairs, traffic signal maintenance and repairs, traffic signs and striping, Bowtree Pond 1 expenses, which will be reclassed to the Infrastructure Sustainability Fund, tree removal, park maintenance and repair, insurance, and additional routine operating costs. Our capital reserve fund expenses included $5,000 for pipe conduit, and that is in the Public Works garage. It's the second half of the draining that will be done. They will cement that as part of a project over this coming winter when it's cold. And they've already ordered the pipe because it was on basically a sale. 17,000 for capital replacement of a John Deere Gator, which was approved. Any questions on the bills?
Before we ask questions, can I get a motion?
Chair, I'd like to make the motion that we graciously accept the receipts and approve the expenditures as presented in the expenditure register and as summarized in the treasury report.
And I'll second that.
Thank you. I have a question, Dave, and I think I know the answer. I'm a top line guy on the general fund on your first page. We've collected $494,390 in revenue, and our expenditures were $912,710. Is that because of the debt service?
A large portion of it is, yes.
And what do you happen to know what debts we're paying with that? What is it, 374,000?
Yeah.
It's in here.
We had a principal payment on the 2003 notes, which were 372,000. That was the majority of it.
I got you. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. Thank you, Dave.
20,000.
Yep. And this is just the 2-week period.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
No.
Questions from the floor? From Zoom? I don't see any hands, but. Okay, call the question.
Aye.
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 Michelle?
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
I'm an aye, yes.
Thank you. All right, old business discussion of the 2023 budget and 2023 millage rate. And the note here says that's not up for passage. Just so people who might be listening know, that question will come up for vote on the 20th at our next meeting. All right, questions, comments from the board?
Yeah, if I may, share with everyone that following up on our last meeting, I asked Dave Ware, Director of Finance, 4 specific questions relative to the condition of our finances, our financial picture, and relative to the 2023 budget, and specific to the proposal for a property tax millage increase, in this case, a half of a mil, 0.50. I'd like to read the 4 questions and then the responses that Dave gave, if I might. This will take a couple minutes, but I think it's informative. Is that all right, John?
Please, yeah.
All right. First question is to Dave, where is based upon the previous board supervisors' discussion over the recent weeks and recent public comment and updated expense figures, including 2023 budget revenue and expenditure estimates, has your recommendation for a 0.5 mil property tax increase change commencing January 2023? The response is, it has not. While I believe it is possible to phase in a 0.5 mil property tax increase over 23 and 24, it would most likely draw on existing general fund balance of a minimum of $400,000. I believe my current revenue projections are moderately aggressive based on recent year actuals. Conversely, I believe the projected expenses include known increases and could be even higher if inflation does not decrease and supply chain issues continue. Total 2023 expenses are projected 7% increase over projected 2022. Revenue without a millage increase would project flat with 2022. Second question, based upon, and again, there are 4 questions. Second question, based upon the current 10-year general fund projection, has your recommendation for a 0.5 mil property tax increase commencing in 2023 changed? No, it has not. I'm comfortable with forecasted revenue and expenses from 2023 through 2025, but the further out we project, the more uncertainty the numbers include. While this makes it difficult to say for certain when and how much a future millage increase may be needed, the existing expense forecast trends continually outpace revenue, barring a windfall of EIT or real estate transfer tax, leading to the assumption that eventually another millage increase will be needed or a significant reduction in current services offered. Third question. In the interim, since our last board meeting, have you prepared an alternative budget plan that might incrementally spread any indicated property tax millage and revenue increases over time, the 10-year forecast horizon, to address both the short-term and long-term indicated general fund budget deficits? Yes, I've run multiple alternative budget plans examining the impact of larger / infrequent versus smaller / incremental millage increases. While we are past the point of the ability to slowly, incrementally address issues in 23 to 25, we could plan the future accordingly as the 10-year projections are revised annually. As a rule of thumb, smaller / incremental increases as needed address shortfalls more quickly in a more equitable manner, providing less risk to existing and projected fund balances while simultaneously avoiding burdensome large increases. Fourth question, are there any other authorized, realistic, or practical options to balance the 2023 general fund budget without using unappropriated fund balance? In other words, our fund balance. Unfortunately, no. The current proposal to balance the 2023 general fund budget already utilizes alternative funds, bond, ARPA, infrastructure sustainability, capital reserve, sewer reserve, and liquid fuels in the manner permitted by the second-class township code and relevant resolutions. The combination of police, fire, EMS funding, as well as inflation and multiple ongoing and upcoming projects is driving the large net budget shortfall we are looking to cover. By December 2024, assuming all current projects are completed on time and cost projection without additional large projects, I believe East Goshen Township will have exhausted a minimum of the following $7.9 million, not including liquid fuels, as follows. $1.9 million ARPA fund will be completely exhausted, not replenished. $2.3 million bond fund will be completely exhausted, only taking on additional debt will provide additional revenue. 2.0 million capital reserve fund. The 2025 balance looks to be down to $3 million unless funded in excess of capital replacement. $1.2 million sewer reserve fund. For 2025, the balance looks to be down to 1.1 million unless funded additionally. 0.5 million infrastructure sustainability fund. 2025 balance looks to be down to 1.1 million. And then the 1.5 million liquid fuels fund at $500,000 received and spent each year in place of general funds. Those were the responses to 4 questions I was particularly interested to hear and share with my colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Michelle, you're out there. Do you have questions or comments on the budget?
I'd like to just comment on the fact that I am concerned that we increase taxes by 0.5 mils and we will then raise all of our expenditure line items to meet the revenue. And I'm concerned that that's not necessarily a prudent way to get ready for additional budget shortfalls in the coming years. I feel like if we raise our expenses to meet the income, we're going to be needing a tax increase sooner than 2028. And so I understand the need for a balanced budget, but I'm also asking the board members to consider reducing our expenditures throughout the year where we can. We can be smart about how we go about doing that. A little bit here and a little bit there will help with the overall picture. Maybe those additional funds could go into the infrastructure sustainability fund. But I'd like to at least look at cutting back where we can, even though something is budgeted for, perhaps being a little bit more cautious next year when making purchases and when doling out some of the monies that have been requested to various organizations. Perhaps we need to look at maybe not funding them fully this year, and allowing ourselves an incremental increase for the following year. So that's where I am at this point.
I was struck by the last paragraph of Dave's response to Mike's questions, and that's the exhausting of the bond fund, the ARPA funds, $500,000 out of the sustainability fund. I don't think we're, and in fact, I know we're not raising taxes, so we have more money to spend on things we're not spending money on now. We're talking about a tax increase to meet the continued demands of inflation, fixed revenue, increasing expenses, and to be able to maintain the services that we're providing East Goshen Township's residents. So, and I agree with Michelle on a point, and that is that it's up to this board then to manage those budgets going forward to make sure that we're, as we always have been, prudent with the use of the taxpayers' funds.
Thank you, David. Cody, what do you have to say?
I have a question regarding what was put in here by Dave. Thanks for putting this together. And I know that Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, Mike, but it was your suggestion to come together as a uniform board to propose a 0.25 increase this year, use general fund balance. Next year, do 0.25. We'd still have to use fund balance for that, correct, Dave, to balance that out, and then move forward from there. John, Michelle, would you guys be interested in doing a 0.25 this year and a 0.25 next year? To use, so I mean, it would be meeting in the middle with some uniform.
I hear you. For myself, I'll think about it, but I'm not leaning in that direction. It's up to Michelle to answer how she feels.
Okay. But you could be talking into it.
And I'm still undecided. I'm still undecided on this. I feel like it could be perhaps less painful for our residents to do it in this manner. I know that some of you are aware that Hershey's Mill homeowners associations, they're all going up. The Summit House condo association fees have gone up. We're not talking a small amount. They're going up by $100 a month over in Summit House. They're going up by $100 to $500 a quarter in Hershey's Mill, depending on the association. And I'm just looking for a way for us to manage what we have a little bit more effectively. If 0.25 can work, I'm willing to consider it. I'm just not quite sure yet. I'm still on the fence myself.
Okay.
I'm thinking that a lot of the homeowners associations and so on, the fact that they're having increases next year just kind of proves the point. Their expenses are going up too. I have a homeowners association of my own, and our full contract, all the kinds of things, tennis court resurfacing, all our landscaping, everything is going up, and we're trying to balance the budget there as well. So I think it just proves the point.
To that end, I did speak with a very nice gentleman from Hershey's Mill Villages who had a great question. He asked me if they were getting double hit with taxes because they pay the HOA fees, basically going communal property, which is that a parcel or not, which would be affected by our real estate tax versus their own private residence, which they would also pay real estate tax on. And said, that's a great question. Let me find out the answer and get back to you. And I did. And in effect, they're getting taxed twice, but the amount that the HOA, at least in Hershey Mill, it would be spreading out, would be like $5 to every resident's address, as opposed to the $100 directly that the homeowner would have to pay. So it's very minimal, even though we're talking over $5 million worth of assessed value that would be spread apart. So I just thought that was interesting to share.
Dave, to that question and your response, when you say double tax, aren't we, is that correct? Is that a correct statement? Because in a community like the Villages of Hershey's Mill, which has master association, common area, as well as the individual villages associations and their common area, that is part of the property that they own communally. So they're not being double taxed, they're just separated out, and there are tax impositions on both of those with the same percentage, whatever the tax millage is.
That's correct. That's a more accurate way to say it.
The one thing I would ask is if, any changes that are being discussed, if individually, if you could all get in touch with Dave over the next 2 weeks, because obviously we have December 20th meeting. There's nothing that says we can't meet. We have up until December 31st, so we can meet as much as we need to until then. But if changes are going to be made and people are still on the fence, I would just, ask that you all individually talk to the finance guy before then. Thank you.
Well, and another point to address some of Michelle's concerns, and John stopped by and we talked a little bit about this today, which is even though you see a net balanced budget, that's because anything that would be shown as a surplus has been put in for a transfer, in this case to the capital reserve fund. So you see it instead of around 300,000, we're saying it would be about 593,000. So even if no expenses changed, that's in essence a few $100,000 surplus, about 300,000. It's kind of built into this.
Can you put the big sheet up and show me where that is?
It's was that page 3?
3.
Okay, so that's how the budget is balanced then. Because we're gonna be taking in more revenue than we need
Is
next
this the one
year.
you want?
Yep, that's the one. Right. So when you're looking
So
at
because
net
we're
results from
taking-
operations in 2023 proposed budget, even though it zeroes out, if you look at the interfund operating transfers, let me see. No, actually, it would be, it's built into the line item. So a large part of it is in parks. So parks goes from $407,000 up to 720. That was the capital expenditure transfer line item that I increased by the amount that was already a surplus.
Okay. Well, and that's good. And the point you made to me, Dave, was we are legally obligated to show a balanced budget. So if there is a 5 mil tax increase, that will generate $800,000 approximately.
Yep.
And that money, I was concerned that it might be spent in this budget, but apparently at least 300,000 of it is showing up in the park budget. And I guess my bottom line is we do not have to spend every penny that is budgeted here. And if we don't spend every penny, that will give us a chance to put money into the reserve, into the infrastructure. Thank you. The infrastructure reserve. That's my concern. That means that as a board, we're going to have to watch expenditures. And there is no such thing as an automatic expenditure around here. with that being the case. And I would like to see that infrastructure fund grow a little bit. I think that would be a good thing. But that's all I wanted to say about that.
Yep, that's correct, John. And to that end, I mean, we're always looking for expense savings. I recently was looking at services. There was an issue with Public Works not having good service through AT&T FirstNet Responder network, which they were adamant 6 months ago that they really needed. And now the service is dropping left and right, and we haven't had adequate customer service follow-up from AT&T's data team. So I just investigated and began switching lines, which should save us about $750 a month. By consolidating them over to Verizon on a 1-year plan that we all get brand new iPhone 13s for free. We get jetpacks for free, and it's unlimited data.
Yeah,
So
I definitely want to.
every year stuff starts
It's
to,
$8,000 we just saved.
we're gonna be over 10,000.
And I want to publicly thank Chris and Dave for that, because they did a lot of legwork on that, looking at what technology we have, the bills every month. There was a lot to unpack and untangle, and they did a great job. And as Dave said, we're going to save a lot of money, and I think get better service. So,
Well, that's the kind of thing, as the professional staff we have that speaks to Michelle's comment about, trying to find the savings here, continuing to dig. $10,000 is, we'd all like to have $10,000 in our checking account. But in the bigger picture here, it's not insignificant, but it's great, but there's a long way to go. So to be commended there with that kind of work and extra effort that they get into it. And
Yeah, we appreciate their efforts. Cody?
And going forward, just a quick comment. I've already had one ABC come to me with some expense savings ideas for the township. So I think our ABCs can be a great source of ideas around cost savings. So just keep that in the back of your mind for going forward.
Good, thanks. Dave, thanks for pointing out that just because we're gonna have a surplus doesn't mean we don't have to spend it. So my question for you is, let me try and walk you through this. Okay, so with this 0.5 increase, it sets it up for the long haul. Okay, so if we were trying to do this agreement where we meet in the middle, where it's a 0.25 increase, that extra 300,000 that was gonna go to surplus, let's say we do a 0.25 this year, how much will we have to draw from the general fund next year to balance that? Ballpark.
From next year,
From this, yeah, from the 20.
if we only did
2023,
a quarter of a mil increase, what impact would that have on our use of the general? fund
Yeah, how much
balance?
would we have to, if we wanted to sort of meet in the middle, what would it be cost?
I think it would be in the tune of 400 minus 250 to 3, would probably be 150 maybe.
So
But-
if we
But
did,
then we're not, so then we're just putting in capital replacement,
sure,
and then we don't have anything extra for the Milltown Dam, say.
Okay.
But keep going.
so essentially, if we did a 0.25 increase this next year, we would have to dip into our savings 200,000.
Up to, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't see it going over that. I mean, we'll continue to crunch the costs, and hopefully inflation starts to come down. I mean, it's kind of a crazy job market is strong. So inflation is continuing, which the Fed wasn't expecting.
Sure.
It helps our interest rates, but it's a catch-22 right now.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I was just trying to think if we, I'm gonna call and lobby you and Michelle and everyone else tomorrow, so. See what we can do together. All right, thanks.
Other comments from the board? Michelle?
Nope, I think that it's a good discussion, and we can discuss it further
Well, we certainly will. Comments from the
offline.
floor? No? Anybody else on Zoom want to comment or question?
there's no. It's not prohibited.
When I do it.
Good. Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Dave.
Sure.
We'll move on then. From old business to new business. And this is the pickleball court project. We have had the staff make a recommendation, Derek.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So Jason is on Zoom. I said earlier he was a resident. I forgot that JL meant Jason Lang. So I apologize for that.
He lives in Town, which is God's country.
So we did have two bids on the pickleball tennis court construction for 2023, which we discussed numerous times in board meetings throughout the year. It was the two that came in were quite varied in what they came in at. So I will just read it for benefit of people in Zoom. The American Tennis Company came in at $144,000 for the project. Keystone Sports Construction came in at $86,666.76. Jason and I had a pretty good discussion on the disparity here. Keystone Sports Construction is right in Phoenixville. They're a local company. The other one's national. So the logistics and getting equipment and materials down here is quite a bit more. Now, obviously, when you see that kind of disparity, also you want to talk about quality. Jason did do the due diligence, spoke with I think a couple of schools in the area that Keystone Sports Construction did work for, specifically tennis courts. So the same exact work. There was no complaints. The quality they said was good. So Jason and I are recommending to go with Keystone Sports Construction for this 2023 project. And again, he's on the line if there are any other specific questions.
What do we have in the budget for this?
There's 105,000.
125.
All right, so that's,
50%.
Yeah, half of that was offset with the grant, 62.5.
okay, so that's a positive relative to what we originally estimated. Good, that's positive.
Chairman, I would
Um,
like to,
But before that motion is made, I would suggest that we have, as always, anytime we have a contract, we have a amount of the bid and not to exceed the amount of the bid in the motion. Is that going to be a problem, Jason?
Is
No, I
that,
mean-
is that bid for a fixed amount, or are there openings in that, Jason, that you're aware of, or Derek, on reviewing the bid and discussing it with the contractor?
The contract is written for that exact number. Now, of course, something could occur, ask them for a change order. This is a fairly simple project where they are pretty much just cleaning the current surface that Public Works did and then putting on the acrylic layovers.
Yeah.
So I would.
So I think, Jason, because I think we did talk to some schools that said there were no real overages for them. And I think you could do that, Michelle. I just think we would, if there's a change order or something that happens, we'd have to be right back here approving it.
It would come before the board if there was anything, and then at least we would have a final say on it, yay or nay. So there'd be at least that kind of fail-safe built into it, that we'd get a look at it if there was something that popped up, Michelle. I think that would be smart.
So
Yep.
put the
Well,
numbers.
I mean, that's what we've been putting that into most of our contracts, is my understanding, not to exceed amount.
Yeah,
Not-
Jason,
not
I
to
think I cut you
exceed.
off. I apologize. Did you have anything else?
No, basically, I was going to say exactly what Mike just said.
Okay.
okay. I'd like to make the motion to authorize the department director to enter a contract with Keystone Sports Construction for the pickleball tennis court construction project at the cost of $86,666.76.
I'll second.
Okay, David?
Further comment from the board? My comment is I'm happy we have a local company doing this.
I agree.
Yeah, I'm with you. Good one.
I
Yep,
was wondering what the
Phoenixville.
76 cents was for, but
That's patriotic.
I don't
Hey, that's
think
what I
you
was
get a
thinking,
pack of
Patriot.
Wrigley at this point, right?
Yeah.
Any comment from the folks on Zoom? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
against? I
Good
think
luck with the
that's,
project,
that's
Jason.
5-0.
Thanks, Jason. Great work.
Good
Thanks a
work.
lot. We'll talk soon.
just have a quick follow-up question. If I can-
There you go. There you go.
There it is. The software, the app for scheduling the courts, would there be a cost to that to the township? That'd be something we consider in the future.
This is actually one of the kind of the neater things about it is it's a software company based in California that has typically done tennis and pickleball in private sectors, but they want to break into the public sector, and so they're basically using East Goshen as their guinea pig. So there'll be a $100 per year fee, flat fee for the township, basically just to have the actual software, but no other fees outside of that. So no fee for registration, no fee for the players, etc.
They must have heard you were on it, Jason.
Well,
Nice. I
sales.
like that.
Yeah, don't mess with three-time national finalists,
All right, we have
Could
to
be.
sign this.
four times.
I think it has to be signed by Michelle and myself.
Thanks, Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Good luck with it.
That's a draft for the millage rate. I just want to show you, that's another subject.
That's what I was afraid of. Okay.
Okay, so are we going, or do we have to go back on something?
No,
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 just,
John was just asking a question.
signing the contract. That's what we were just
Okay.
talking
Okay, I'm around, Derek Mortensen.
Okay.
Yeah.
New business 10B, discussion of the ordinance. Change to park rules to reflect necessary language for grant purposes.
So Jason, actually, another parks issue. So Jason actually got this brought to his attention from the county. We had in our ordinance language that, and I'll read it verbatim, all parks, whether active or passive, shall be open daily to all township residents and their accompanying guests between sunrise and sunset. So that language is basically a no-no for the county, the state, and feds for applying to grants and getting any sort of money from them. We need to essentially change it to get rid of the township residents and accompanying guest part. In order to be eligible for those type of funds, it has to be open to the general public. I will say right now, this is not being enforced. So
I don't think
So-
it's ever been enforced.
so this is a simple ordinance change that I just need the board to authorize Bill and myself to advertise, and then we can bring it to the next meeting as a change. Bill, I don't know if you have anything to add. That's basically
The
it.
only thing that I would add is frankly, I think it violates your county declaration that's already recorded against the
Okay.
property as well.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
not only going forward, but you're violating.
Don't tell anybody
Yes.
that. Go ahead, Cody.
Just to
Cody,
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to move to authorize the township
Oh.
manager and the township solicitor to advertise an ordinance change. Section 163-3 of the Code of Ordinances titled Rules and Regulations, hereby deleting language in subsection A that specifies the township parks are only open to residents and accompanying guests.
I'll second that.
all right. Comment from the board,
No.
in the room, on Zoom. Okay, I'll call the question then. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Michelle? Okay.
aye.
Nothing. All right, discussion on the direction and future of the Historical Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. So before I get into this, I actually want to give some positive news with ABCs because we do have, starting in January, a couple of the ABCs actually have some new members and new blood that are going to be coming on there, it looks like. So some of the ABCs we're actually doing a little bit better with than we were 6 months ago, even 3 months ago. So I'd like to put that out there. Unfortunately, we're having some issues with the Historical Commission, and we've had since, my understanding before I even came here, but particularly in the last year. I met with Ted Roberts, who is chairman of the Historical Commission. As of January, he will be the only member. And Ted was a really good guy, gave me some great history. But even he said he doesn't know how much longer he'll be, in the area. So I guess I want this to be an open discussion of the board of, how to proceed. I did talk to Bill a little bit and we went over some options. I laid out two here, but it is by no means exclusive and all you have to consider. But, the two ways we can go is we can try to sort of cobble together something and keep the commission alive in some way, shape or form while we figure some things out. And I give you sort of an outline there of possibly how that could happen. Another thing is to sort of disband the Historical Commission and then put their responsibilities in with another ABC. Two that come to mind is Conservancy and Parks and Rec. I know Eric's here from Conservancy and but Parks and Rec does have a lot of other responsibilities. So Conservancy, I think it makes sense a little bit because a lot of the historical commission recently has been during land development and historical houses and resources and that can fit into the reviews that they do with landscaping and things of that nature. So that's something to consider. Either way, we would probably have to change some things that were codified in the zoning and saldo because they do point out that the historical commission is responsible for certain things. So that would probably need to change because I don't have the membership in order to actually do it on an official basis. So again, kind of an open discussion right now. I'd love to get the board's feedback and thoughts, but we're just we're making some progress with other ones, but this is one that has sort of not really taken hold and we had to cancel so many meetings and I'm just trying to find a better way forward.
I'm
Thank you.
glad you brought this up. If I might, a couple questions to help me set a bit of a platform to make a couple of other comments perhaps. We don't have in East Goshen Township a certified historic district, i.e. that would trigger a HARB, a Historic Architectural Review Board. So we don't have that tranche of oversight.
Correct.
We don't have, as far as I know, any historical districts recognized by the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission. Am I correct on that? We don't have a district per se, do we, of any type?
Not that I'm aware of.
So they're
no.
all individual. It's not
I don't
been
think it- I don't
certified
think
as a
it's been
historic
certified.
district as far as I
No.
know. Or not certified, but just as recognized as a historic district. There are two different designations.
I
Let
think
me
we-
just interrupt and ask, what's the status of the blacksmith shop?
That I believe is on I don't know if it's the National Registry or something on the state. I can do some recon on that and check it out.
It's one or the other. It's either a national
Yeah.
resource or so we don't have those kind of larger conglomerations of historic resources that are contained. So the functions of the historical commission as they exist now, besides some of the softer aspects of maintaining records, documenting historic records, updating them, their primary function is to consider whether or not a historic impact study needs to be done for a development. That's number one. Number two, if there is a request to demolish a resource that's on our register, they would have oversight on that, but not the ability to, they could make a recommendation to the board. Other than those two areas, and the one about maintaining the records and the existing documents and enhancing those as they can, what other functions does the current historical commission have?
That is about it right now. Now, when I got into history with Ted, he had said, and I think some of those responsibilities is kind of what it whittled down to. This was created in 1994. Ted had said originally it was more historical as far as some of the things they did were more lighthearted in that, they would do recreations and dress up and things like that. And I think he said that's what a lot of the members enjoyed and at that particular time, that group liked to do. When it started shifting into what you're describing, Mike, I think that's when a lot of people lost interest into doing that sort of thing with land development, things of that nature.
And that's interesting because there are some municipalities where the meat of their interest, and most of the time historical commissions and their members take on and sometimes can come into conflict with the elected official, the governing body, because they take on more of a role of advocates, an advocacy role, not advisory. And Bill, you'll probably confirm that. And from my prior experience, that's certainly the case. So if we have those two under the current circumstances, and recognizing the couple of suggestions that you made here, Derek, can we turn either of those two functions over to either the zoning officer or another member of the staff. Can you do that, Bill?
So there are two additional roles that they play as well that should be discussed, and that is create the historical resource inventory in the first place.
Yeah.
So they're tasked with saying, what is historical and what isn't, what qualifies and what doesn't. And if it does qualify, then your historic regulation, your historic preservation ordinance applies to that property or that structure. And they also have to review, your ordinance requires conditional use to use a historic resource for certain
Adaptive
things.
reuse or something like that?
Correct. And it requires a review of the historical commission and basically says if the historical commission says no, then you guys can deny it. You can deny the.
Well, it's a
conditional use.
recommendation, of course, that they would offer recommendation and one particular case might be to deny it.
Correct.
And then the board can make its determination.
The
on it.
language is interesting, but yes. So there are, I wouldn't delegate this to an administrative staff member, particularly the zoning officer. They are statutorily
They're too
created.
embedded in
Exactly.
what
And
they've got.
this would give too much discretion, I think, to a staff
Okay.
member. Whereas this is more policy level, township wide.
Okay, that's good advice.
So,
And Derek, you may not know this, and I'm not sure anybody else here would know it, given that the Historical Commission was formed in the mid-90s. 94, which is kind of late for a lot of them in Chester County because we are a very historic, resource-oriented county because of our heritage and the history. Have we ever done a full-blown historic resource inventory to make determinations of class 1, class 2, class 3 resources? We ever done one?
so your ordinance makes
Yes.
reference to you having an inventory. So you have one.
Yes,
I just don't know the last
yeah,
time. it was
there is one.
Yeah.
There's definitely an inventory. Chuck,
It's
Chuck
floating around
Proctor
somewhere.
told me there's an inventory. Yeah.
I knew we had documents and resources established,
Yeah.
but I didn't know whether it started with for instance, who's one of the historic resource, folks that we know, is it Bob Weiss?
Bob Weiss.
Weiss,
Yep.
I know they did for
Weiss.
East Bradford, that was a big deal. It took a couple years to put it together, and I think there's like 3 volumes of documentation and categorizing resource 1, class 2, class 3, and then, of course, they play into various levels of oversight.
Now-
So we do have a basis that originally started with someone putting that together that had a taxonomy, et cetera, that creates, because I haven't really looked at it closely, to be honest with you.
Now, Bill, some of the responsibilities you're citing, and I know you said you wouldn't get over to the administration, which I agree with you. I don't want to have that much discretion. We can, if we wanted to, give it to another board.
You can.
Okay.
I support option number 2 and giving it to conservancy.
Yeah, here's my thoughts are, I would, I'm kind of thinking more of having the ordinance administration and maintenance of the register and that type of thing with the planning commission, because they would have to start making decisions on whether somebody can modify a building. They'd be involved in that anyhow.
I agree.
And then, but I'm also concerned about,
I don't, go ahead.
What Derek referred to as kind of the lighthearted. I would actually like to see a line item in the Parks and Rec mission. If we dissolve the Historic Commission, to have them have the responsibility to make sure that they have an event or, the
Opportunities for
blacksmith
events.
shop and those types of things have an opportunity for them to do some of the historical
Aspects of it
Aspects
that's
of
different
it,
than
yeah.
just the land development portion of it.
Yeah, land development to the planning commission.
So just a thought on that.
Yeah.
In looking at your ordinance, almost all of the review work, except for a demolition permit, but all of the review work for conditional uses or uses of a property would require review by the planning commission already.
Anyway,
So they would go to the planning commission and the historical commission.
So conservancy could be an advisory board to the planning commission. It might make more sense to do it conservancy.
This goes back to the discussion we had months ago about another ordinance. How many hoops do you want developers to jump through? How many boards do you want them to see? We only have a limited amount of time to act on an application, and it does make it administratively difficult sometimes to
That's true.
have to go to historical commission and conservancy
Say
and the
that to
planning
say
commission.
what?
and Sometimes
Conserv-
less is better.
okay, so you're saying it would be better to put historical in with one of the others? That's-
One of the others that already has to review applications, I think.
My
that-
sense of it, John, is a separation there. First of all, I don't think the planning commission, at least the current membership, would embrace an interest in that. I think you would hear the current
That's
chair.
exactly my
pushback.
thought, but you express it so
Well,
delicately.
you know,
I really
say what I
appreciate
say.
that.
I say what I
I
say.
really
That's why
appreciate
my
that.
wife loves me so much that she says, stay over there tonight.
I-
But,
Oh,
because she sees it.
I'm sorry, Michelle, I tried to control it, but I couldn't.
You know, you let the
Um,
Kraken loose
Eric,
now.
Eric, what do you think? Would
disappoint me,
conservancy
John.
Be a good place to put historical.
We're already looking at it.
You're an active group, whereas I think Michael's comments are accurate, too. The only hook I would like to put in here is that if we put it with conservancy, I would like to see Ted Roberts go with it.
Me too.
Because Ted is a mover and
He's been the
shaker,
most active and
and he's the
energetic
most
the
accurate.
last few years.
He lives in a historical building for his home. So I would like to see him continue.
I can make the
Being
request. I
sure,
mean,
sure.
Yeah,
it's up to
yeah.
him, obviously.
Yes, yes, but
Be interested.
I'd love to see that.
Bill, let me ask you one relative to the planning commission. Under Act 247 now is amended, the municipalities planning code. It allows the planning commission to have alternate members, correct? Up to 2 or 3 alternate members.
That's
It can
correct.
Be, and I'm not sure that, I forget how that works, what the protocol is. Whether they're obviously not voting members, but if we did choose to have a historical element with the planning commission, if we could use an alternate member, appoint an alternate member to the planning commission who was specialized and knows, like a Ted, who would be an alternate member of the planning commission who specializes in the historical resources of the township. I don't know whether that's an alternative option.
Do we have a limit on the number of people that can be on planning commission?
Is it 9 or is it?
There
7?
is a limit,
Is it? I feel like it's I want to say
9 members.
Yeah.
And are we there now?
No, 7.
Yeah.
So 5, we're at 5,
Well,
right?
that's under the municipality's
Yes.
planning
But our-
code, so
our
I'm not
word-
sure how many you have. Hold on.
Could
I'll
have
go to-
somebody on the actual board with historic, but I like your comment too. You could also have associate.
So we're all in agreement though of disbanding it as it is and moving it underneath another commission or another committee. Is that correct? ABC? Is that where the board's at?
I think given the current state of it, at this
We
point.
just have to
in
find
time-
out where we're gonna put it underneath.
And I would like to add a line item in Jason's mission statement to something about,
Jason texted me during this and actually said that he thinks some of the members would be interested in that.
Good.
So
okay, cool, cool.
I will say that I do have the same concern Bill raised. So, I mean, if we move this to another responsibility for another ABC, we definitely have to be, it doesn't come up a lot, but when these historical issues come up, we have to be diligent with that timeline. Because, there's already land developments that come up, we're already asking for an extension.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, frankly, the pending one right now that's up for conditional use in January is one of them.
Yeah.
They'll need to go
That's correct.
to the historical commission.
Bill, if we melded it, would we have to recognize it, the name within the ABC, for instance, the Conservancy and Historical
I think it would
Board?
be,
Review Board, something?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it would be helpful. Let's suffice it to say, whatever we do, we're probably not gonna get it done by the by the reorg meeting because
Oh,
it's going
no,
to
I
involve, I
doubt
just
it.
want to make sure
I
that
doubt
we
We got
know.
a resolution and ordinance changes. It's not.
Right, because especially because it'll be zoning, we're gonna be amending zoning.
So let's try to wrap this up for tonight then. I would suggest that we have Derek talk to Ted Roberts first of all, and maybe address both Ernie Harkness and who's the head of conservancy now?
Oh, Sandy shared.
Yeah, I thought Sandy was, and see how they feel about it.
Eric, are you generally receptive to that possibility?
Yeah, well,
Done.
Double that.
Done.
How about 100?
yeah.
So in the meantime, we should pass a resolution at reorg and re-advertise the historical commission to meet as needed as well.
I think that's, I was gonna say at minimum, because I need to do something with them at reorg.
Yeah.
So we're not
Yeah,
locked
that's
in.
fine.
Figure it out and we'll vote on it.
You guys continue to kind of juggle around with this and keep us informed, but I think we're receptive to it, right, as a
Yes.
board?
Yes,
It's unfortunate, the energy we thought trying to reconstitute it, when I first came on the board, I understood that there was some sort of tumult with the then historical commission, there were a lot of resignations. And then we tried to get some fresh energy members into it. Ted was one of them and had some great ideas, even my sister, who's over in Hershey's Mill, was on the historical commission for a stint, and she did something happened there and she left.
if we put it over under one of the conservancy or planning, that doesn't mean that it's dead. It can reinvigorate itself if enough people are interested.
Well, John
absolutely.
brings up a good point. I thought about that already. I mean, I don't necessarily know, even if this all goes through and it's done, I don't necessarily think you want to always not have it in your back pocket in case you get 4 or 5 people interested in,
Yeah.
I know, breathing life into it. again,
Oh, yeah,
so.
I'm all for that, because if we get interested residents who want to participate in our ABCs and, yeah, well, that's great, that's what we want. We want that
Okay.
kind of participation.
Good, I agree. Let's move on.
Can I
Michelle,
Sorry, Michelle, I almost forgot you.
I just wanted to ask, in the meantime, could we have Ted or Chuck share with Derek and maybe Jason where the historical registries are located? And if
yes,
they're,
and I'm actually going to ask Mark to
take a look
work
at them.
too.
And I was the liaison a couple of years ago, and my recollection is that it's all in a file cabinet somewhere in this building. But I have no idea.
That does not help me at all. That's just
I
a
apologize.
file
Down the
cabinet. is all-
basement.
It's not how.
You're up there.
Down the basement.
Michelle, what did you say?
I said it's gonna be down the basement.
But no,
Where all the
I,
historical costumes are.
yeah,
There you go.
it's a good idea, Michelle. I will get on it.
Standing issues
I'm
projects.
sure it's still there.
Thank you. So Hershey's Mill Dam project, right after the last meeting, I think we had a, November 17th, we had a, meeting on site, to actually do a punch list items for that. So Total Site and, Mark Miller and myself were working, Total Site's a contractor. We are working on the punch list. Some of it, because of the nature of the weather right now, is not going to be able to take place till the spring, but for instance, the live stakes, we have to do some of that again in the spring. But for all intents and purposes, it is so what they classify as substantially done. I am currently working on making sure we get our full MS4 credit for it, since it is substantially done.
Yeah.
But again, I consider it done, but I want to leave it on here just because through the spring, we'll have some wrap up items that we couldn't get in before the weather turned.
I'd like to ask a couple of questions on it, if I might.
Sure.
I'm gonna guess since we'll have an open punch list, as you just alluded to, probably not finishing off and ticking them off until the spring. We do have the construction site orange signs at various locations on Green Hill and Hershey's Mill Road. Do they stay up until we absolutely sign off,
I
or can they
think-
be removed?
I think we could remove them, but I'll talk to Mark
Okay.
Miller tomorrow. But I agree with you. I drive that road every day and
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of them
Yeah.
anymore. I don't
Number-
think they're
All
useful.
right, number two, this is a little bit within our bailiwick rather than the contractor at this point in
Mhm.
time. I guess I've been over to the area, the dam park, there's maybe a dozen times in the last couple months. And when I pull in to the parking spaces, what I've noticed is that it is, I'll use the word safer. It is safer to exit going north than it is crossing the lane and going south when you park. And I'm wondering, because the way cars can swing around, even though it's I forget what it's 25 or 35 mile an hour there. But two things, and one might be if it's 35, maybe we can adjust it to 25 miles or some other signs. Hey, sorry about signs, but that alert people, cautionary as to cars, parking area ahead, something. Or the other alternative would be, and I'm not sure quite how you do this, have it so that cars can only park coming from one direction. In other words, so that when they leave, they can only go north as opposed to crossing the lane here like this when cars are coming around. I've noticed that it's a little,
It's a good suggestion.
little
Tell me
tight.
this.
I'm not quite sure how it would
If
work.
you have to go north and you want to go south, how hard is it to turn around?
You'd probably go up to, is it Tanglewood and just
Yeah.
do a
Tanglewood.
little U-ey right there. And of course, when the new development is in there, that will be a full intersection there. People could probably swing around pretty easily, but it's got me a couple of times. I haven't had any close calls, but I know that it's a quick look like this and you kind of, I don't really burn rubber, but it kind of
Well,
move.
we'll ask Derek to take that up
Yeah, I'll
with
take it
Mark
up.
Miller.
Eat rubber and burn dust.
We'll get
is
Mark
that it?
Miller.
No.
Can I make a quick
You
comment too?
guys,
No,
go ahead.
I was there
Cody's
on,
gonna make a
I was
comment.
there on Saturday and it looks beautiful.
Doesn't
Mark-
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mark's doing a great job and it's everyone.
Yeah,
And
we're
the-
looking to get
and the-
some new drone pictures put up on the
good.
website. John
That's my
talked to
man.
Mark about it, so.
The only other one I want to kind of mention, and it may not have anything to do with the new arrangement of the stream flow. Hang in there, John. This is entertaining.
Okay.
It's not historical, but it's entertaining. So we have, the whole mission of the Army Corps of Engineers to reestablish a lot of these person-made dams.
Yep.
And reestablish the existing environment, wetlands and streams. And what we just discovered over at the Villages of Hershey's Mill now, just like the Milltown Dam, we now have beaver on what's referred to as the ninth hole, the pond there. And I don't know how beaver get there, but whether or not that stream, because it was opened up now, whether they, in a good activity of precipitation, and they made their way down through the pond and now all of a sudden they're doing their thing right along the, the beaver, I'm calling him Alfred and Betty right now, but they are wreaking havoc. And I wonder if that project enabled them to make their way down there. So it was just, it's 'tis the season. I figured I'd just meander a little bit, John. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
According to Mark, some of those are, they've expanded the family. And so they have to move down.
Yeah, they kick them out after a couple years.
Yeah,
Go
so-
find your own logs.
So unless we can get them out of there, they just keep promulgating.
Got it. Well, maybe
Probably
we'll
on
have somebody
healthcare
track them.
26.
Well, they're managed. They're not an endangered species, so there is a season for them as well. But I just thought I'd mention it because it just seemed, I don't know whether it's a coincidence or not. Maybe a coinkydink.
Derek, do we have to move the grant, have that renewed if it's going into the spring?
For Hershey's Mill,
Yeah, to get the second payout.
I already extended the grant.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll show you the paperwork.
Nice. All right, sorry to belabor.
How about Milltown?
So Milltown, I would like to thank Michelle on this one. She sort of was taking the initiative to contact DCNR. I don't know if you remember last conversation we had at the meeting, they were in possession of the bid documents.
Yeah,
And she was on our behalf contacting DCNR and seeing when those would be ready. We did get a response, not really one we wanted, but essentially, they're saying mid-January is when we would get those bid documents back. Not something I wanted to hear because I really wanted to have the town hall that I was hoping to have by then, not just the bid documents back.
Yeah.
So it sort of pushes everything else back.
And they
But
may have they may have revisions they want us to do to the bid documents, which take another month by the time, because I want to see them
yeah,
again, right?
but we went over them pretty thoroughly and they're similar to the Hershey's Mill one. So I don't think it'll be too substantial.
Good.
Do the
Um,
bids have expiration on
As far as when we,
them? This bid is good for 60 days.
oh, well, we didn't even,
Oh, we're not out.
Get to
This
that
is bid- no, we're just bid documents.
this is just a review.
DCNR.
Because of the grant we got from DCNR, they have to review the bid
Yeah,
documents.
misunderstood. It was the documents, not. the-
Yeah.
Is there anything we can do in the meantime?
There's not really much we can do. I mean, I need the contractor on board to have a
Okay.
town hall.
Okay.
So, I mean, unfortunately,
And I'm,
no.
and I'm going to call him, and I'm going to call him again,
Okay.
just to remind him that we exist.
Michelle, I think this is why your back hurts.
It wouldn't be a surprise,
All
John.
right. Hershey's Mill Estate sewer line replacement.
So Hershey's Mill Estate sewer line replacement, we are actually, I think, I want to say tomorrow or Friday, we're actually due to go out to bid. Now, we're dealing with a little bit more bureaucracy with this one as well. We're still going out to bid, but we cannot sign any agreements until the grant's awarded. So we're going to be a little held up. We have to wait because it's a big grant. If we get it all, wait for it, it's $600,000 that we requested. So yeah, so we are going out to bid. We're going to see what they come in back in at. But we're probably after that going to be playing a little bit of a waiting game with the grants because again, we cannot sign anything until the grants are officially awarded. So
As many of you know, I live in that neighborhood, and I can tell you that Public Works was there yesterday aggressively preparing the site for equipment to be able to move in and have access to the locations and so on. So it's not like we're not
yeah,
doing any.
Mark's doing a lot of work right
Good.
now, setting up, talking to residents, preparing them.
I think Mark wanted to see if he could put all the pipe in your front yard, but
As long as I'm not.
There are actually a couple places where it would probably your backyard would work pretty well. I don't want to, no, I'm not
David.
gonna say that backyard.
all right.
But you know,
Can
this
I-
should be
can
an
I-
interesting test too, because when we bid it, we're gonna see what the market is like out there, even though it's different from the Milltown
Yeah,
Dam.
that's a good
But
point.
I
Yeah.
think this could be a litmus test for what may be ahead
I-
this next
Good
year.
point.
I agree.
Michelle, do
Michelle.
you have something to
Can
say?
Yeah, I just want to make sure to point out as well that I have reached out to Michelle Kickline a month or so ago, and I asked when the county ARPA grants were going to be awarded. She told me that they would be awarded at the next commissioners meeting in November, and then they decided to push it to December.
Oh.
Yep,
So
that is
that's
correct. But
when
this
they're
is
going
actually
to
different.
supposedly. ahead, Derek.
That is correct. That is a different grant, but yeah, Michelle's correct. The one for the Hershey's Mill sewer replacement is a local share program at the state level. But we are waiting for word back from the county grants as well through the ARPA. So
Okay, is there any other matter?
I have two quick things, John, sorry.
Sure.
I forgot to ask during our budget presentation, what is the total, Dave, this for you, what is our total debt of the township?
total-
Make sure you break it out between general fund and sewer.
Yep, so total debts, let's just say at the conclusion of 2023, we will have remaining $16.4 million of outstanding debt service. 6.5 of that will be general fund and 9.9 of that will be sewer.
Is that normal to have that high?
We still have a AAA. I
Okay,
mean,
well, let's keep
we're,
it that.
we're good with it, but I mean, we're one of the very few.
Thank you.
It's, let's put it this way, we don't want to take on any more.
Under the Unit Debt Act, we've got room.
Yeah, we've got
We've
room under
If
that.
we ever need it more.
Let's not use it.
No, absolutely.
And then one other quick thing, sorry, Portnoy update for collecting this unpaid sewer.
Yes, we are. I'll give a shout out to Chris for this. She's done great work on this and tracks it diligently. We've sent a total over to Portnoy of $180,236.13 and have collected a total of $63,320.62. So 35% collection rate.
That's just like in the last 8 months then. Yeah.
Yep.
That's great.
And we think it's really gonna help our rates moving forward as people get in the loop. We get more people signed on to automatic payments.
Smooth.
It's just a win-win. Yeah.
I think that's great. And their service is proving to, once again, to be very effective, as I was hoping it would be. I think they're a pretty good outfit for what, a real good outfit for what they do.
Yeah, and along with the debt comments, it's another, before we had the discussion about the debt, and the budget situation and the 10-year projection, it's important to note that part of the reason that we're looking at this increase now is because the full blown debt service for the 2017 debt comes on board in 2024. And that's $460,000 that we otherwise would not have to pay annually out of the general fund, because they got a 2017 debt. We haven't paid much except for interest. Now in 2024, principal starts to get paid and we go up to 461,000, whereas our 2003 notes will be done. So we wrapped it and now we're going to have to pay for that. So if you think about it, we would otherwise have $500,000 a year if we didn't have to take out that debt at the time. Now you can argue whether we should have or shouldn't have and what we spent it on, but even with that, we're going to be expending it all by 25. So.
See, that's the interesting thing with municipal debt. The opportunity is provided to give some flexibility, or at least financially, to manage cash flow. And so these wrapped debt tranches, for a number of years, so you can keep your cash flow somewhat steady and meet your debt obligation. The newest debt taken on, you're just paying the interest for a number of years, and then the principal will kick in later on as the other debt is paid off. And so it's kind of a continual carousel of debt. And when we look at how far out this current debt is, both sewer and general fund, the likelihood of us needing more dollars that plays into, Michelle, that plays into this long-term forecast as well, that doesn't even include the potentiality for the need for more revenue than any tax imposition could increase. So there is an unknown pressure out there that that this township could feel 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 8 years from now, but the debt goes beyond that 8-year period. It goes beyond the 10-year forecast.
Yeah, and you know what, Mike?
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because back when they borrowed that money, they should have made it very clear to the residents that we needed a tax increase at that time so that we could actually afford our debt service that they were taking out. And that was shame on them.
Excellent point. And
it goes to that,
Shame on them.
looking at the small increases versus large increases, because you could have
Yeah.
stepped up 0.1 mil
Yeah.
every other year
Yeah.
and you'd be covering that.
And Michelle and Dave's point is well taken. There's so many municipalities, not so much local governments like the school district and Chester County, which are local governments, if you will, who have done an incremental approach over the years. But so many municipalities do not like to increase taxes, so they will hold off and hold off and hold off. And as residents have commented at the last meeting, that's a 40% tax increase. It is, but and that number shows itself. It's not as relevant as the absolute number, but it's an indication. And East Goshen is not the only one. There's so many other municipalities that just hold off and hold off, and then the dam's ready to break, and they've got to do something really structurally substantial, rather than just being able to shore up a little bit at a time and extend the life of that. So
I'm seeing the
it's not
same
unique.
thing in the sewer cap reserve, which is to be able to fully fund our system moving forward for the next 10 to 20 years, we're going to be looking at possible rate increases. We need to quantify them, have a long-term capital
Yeah.
plan, and be able to fund it ourselves under our own power rather than do like so many other municipalities that get lost in the lurch. They have $10 million. What's the solution? Sell to Aqua.
That's right.
So-
And municipal, sewer authorities have also fallen into that as well. They don't want to, it was interesting. I attended the New Garden Township meeting this past month, where have been involved for the last 8 years now in the sale of their sewer system to Aqua. It's history. It's occurred. It went to Commonwealth Court. It even went to the state Supreme Court, but it was not accepted there. But a long process. There must have been 300 or 400 residents in attendance because the rates increased substantially. And they wanted to know why. And there was a very good presentation, long, but chronologically factual and explanatory. They didn't really want to hear it. They just knew their rates had gone up dramatically. And the interesting thing was the municipality had proposed as much as a 30 or 40% tax increase before the sale of the system that were necessary infrastructure improvements. They were going to be affected one way or the other. I don't know the reason that they did not. The decision that they made was to sell and let Aqua take on that mantle as opposed to the township. And it was interesting because many of the residents that were there that were able to comment said, we wish you hadn't sold the system. We would have rather had the increases from you guys than Aqua. Instead of, and they made some outlandish statements about the executives and a private company and stockholders and that sort of thing. Not so outlandish, but they played into that. But it was so interesting about the nature of the infrastructure, rates, and keeping up with them, and having the fortitude as a municipal government to say, this is a reality. We've got to do it. And then here it was fait accompli. It had already occurred. The sale had happened. And here were the residents saying, we wish you would have kept it. We would have accepted the rate increases from you guys, municipality, rather than Aqua. So a little anecdotal. It was an interesting meeting, needless to say.
Is there any public comment? Eric,
No.
it's all right.
Well, it's about time you've been coming to all the meetings, which come up.
So Eric Meyer, Monte Vista Drive. This is a safety issue with the park. And so that the crosswalk at the flashing light, not Hibbard Lane. Have we ever looked into putting a street light there or anything to light up the crosswalk? I know the park's closed, supposed to be closed at dusk, but this has happened 2 or 3 times in the last couple of weeks where I'm coming down Paley Pike, the lights go on, it's dark. And because the way you come up there, your lights, unless you have
disappear.
super bright lights, you don't see anybody and you're kind of looking and then you just see this figure going across. Have we ever thought maybe about putting a street light there just for safety?
Good point.
Who owns the streetlights, Jared?
We own them. Yeah.
And there's already electric there, obviously,
Yeah.
for the
Yeah.
flashing light, so.
Yeah, I mean, I could take a look at it. Not to answer your question, no, since I've been here, I have not looked at that.
That's a good-
But so you're talking about, do you think regular streetlights would do the trick?
Well, it would at least light it where you could actually, you would see someone.
Okay.
I mean, you literally can't see them. You just see the light flashing and you're wondering, okay, and they just shoot across.
Sure. Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
take a look at it and get in touch with Public Works and see if it's ever been explored or what we can come up with. I'll follow up with you in email.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The other suggestion or question for the same spot is, we have the flashing light. A lot of people I don't know why they don't press the button.
Yeah.
They don't. But the other thing is when you do press a button, your eye goes there. Your eye doesn't really go to where they are. Now you know, like in West, at the courthouse, they have the automatic.
Yep.
That's here where the people are, and that draws your eye, so you see the person crossing. I don't know. I mean, obviously that would be more money than a street light,
Is it
but
down at street level versus up, at the top of a truck level?
Correct.
Oh, you're saying the countdown,
No,
Uh,
right next to the courthouse, when you're coming out Market Street.
Yeah.
Heading towards,
Mhm.
West Goshen.
The blinking
The
lights are
blinking
about
lights right
7
next to the-
feet,
with the
6
parking
feet.
They're
garage
automatic.
Right here, and courthouse right here, and
Yep.
all right there,
Yep,
like
okay,
Artemis.
they just
Yeah.
come on automatically when you go to cross. They start
Gotcha.
flashing.
Yeah.
okay. got
So
it.
it's, yeah, I mean, that would help alleviate people.
That's
that-
a good point.
I don't know why they don't press the button or I'm assuming the sign, I've never crossed there, even though I live right around the corner. But I assume the sign says to press the button, right?
Yeah.
Because there's a little sign
Yeah.
on the thing, so I don't know. But so just, I mean, that would be obviously more money, but.
It's a good insight.
Take a look at it. Thanks, Eric.
All right,
Thank you,
good.
Eric.
Thank you, Eric. Any other public comment on Zoom? We have no liaison reports. We have no correspondence that I'm aware of.
Mr. Vice Chair, I'd like to make the motion to adjourn. I'll second.
Everybody?
right.
We're adjourned.
Adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle.
I hope you get some good.
See you guys later. Hey, Derek.
Yes. Hello? Oh.
Do I have to sign anything?